Tonight, quote, what in God's name is going on with Gavin Newsom? That's a headline, and there's headline after headline asking that sort of question as the country is trying to figure out how he went from progressive hero and governor of the most liberal state in the country to interviewing and spending time with MAGA favorites like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk on his new podcast. Tonight, our K-File looked into that, finding that Newsom, well, he's really completely changed his tune on some of the most hot-button issues for Democrats.
Now, you know things are bad when CNN and other liberal networks start going against the grain on people like their superstar, Gavin Newsom. And what's really pissing them off right now is the fact that what Gavin Newsom is doing, he's trying to move himself from far left-wing extremists to being seen as a more moderate Democrat. The only problem with that, Gavin, we've got tons and tons and tons of footage, and you putting your foot in your own mouth. Now, recently, Gavin Newsom went on Bill Maher. Now, I'm going to show you in this video the clips of exactly what's got the Democrats going crazy. And I'm also going to show you some proof of exactly what's going on in California, and just showing how Gavin Newsom has not only changed his tune, has not only not changed his tune, but it's even worse because he's posing and he's grifting. And not only the Republicans are exposing it, but CNN and the Democrat Party is exposing it. These people just can't help themselves in fighting and backstabbing. So let's get off into the video. Check out this first clip where Gavin is sitting up talking with Bill Maher about all of the regulations going on in California and how hard it is on the people there. And what Gavin's response is it'll blow your mind. Check this clip out.
But my point was that we can't even build that. And I wrote that, this is from my old book, regulators, administrators, inspectors, right, contract reviewers. These are all the people involved. Amen. Project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, consultants, contractors, lawyers, lobbyists, sometimes unions also. Can't you take a chainsaw? Can't we doge the shit out of these people?
Yeah, I got it. Yes, I mean, the lawyers and the lobbyists, those are the two most potent forces in that respect. And by the way, the biggest delay on the high-speed rail has been taking 2,270 properties under eminent domain and ultimately getting the environmental work cleared. And that was courts, litigation, and lobbyists. By the way, we're doing railhead now. This thing's fully environmentally cleared. We've underground 1,000 utilities. We're finally on the other side of this as it relates to that project.
Now, I want to point out just how big of a liar Gavin Newsom is. Now, we just heard him say how the railway, it's on his way, and that's all the crazy stuff he does with his hands. He's on the other side of this and that, is a bold-faced lie. That $128 billion railway that was supposed to be going from San Francisco to LA has yet to have one piece, not anything laid on it yet. As a matter of fact, it is so far behind that it's close to just being completely lost. $128 billion will go completely down the drain. Here's proof. Check this clip out.
California's embattled high-speed rail project needs a lot more money fast. Lawmakers just found out they have a little more than a year to secure $7 billion. That money would go to finishing the first section of the rail project, just the first, between Merced and Bakersfield. The price tag for the whole San Francisco to LA line is at least $100 billion. Lawmakers are waiting on an overdue project update that's now expected to come out this summer.
We have no plan. We have good likelihood that it's going to get worse, and we have a short time to try to solve the problem, right? That's not a good place for government to put itself into.
And the news gets worse because even the money the project has may not be safe. The Trump administration is investigating the use of $4 billion worth of federal funds.
So $128 billion project that they had already collected money for, nothing happened. Now it's under risk of being completely obliterated if they don't get another $7 billion in before June. This video clip that I just showed you is from 2 days ago. That's not from a couple years ago. So Gavin Newsom sitting up there lying, just bold-faced. He is a true definition of an American psycho. That Christian Bale character with the slick back hair and the great smile, because that's why he's so dangerous, because he could take a terrible situation, flip it and sell it to weak-minded people who just get caught up in how he looks, like Sonny Holston on The View. Always talk about that beautiful smile and that beautiful hair while he's sticking it to the people in California to the tune of $128 billion. Now they need an extra $7 billion. While in Florida, the high-speed railway that was built between Miami and Orlando cost $5 billion and was completed in 4 years and required no government money. The California project got $4 billion from the federal government, not to mention all the special interest money. Nothing has been done. It's been in the works for years, and now it's at threat of being upended if they don't get another $7 billion cash infusion. Now let's check out this next clip where we got Bill Maher begging Gavin Newsom to run for president. Check out this crap. Watch this clip.
Given that we are in this dire situation, I feel like we don't have time anymore for the old bullshit. You know, the old, are you running for president? Well, you know, there's an exploratory committee and I'm looking at it. I'm happy with my job as governor. I mean, your future is not in California. Your future is in Iowa. Let's dispense with the bullshit. We need someone who's going to be the champion. Are you going to do it or not? Just come on. Tell us. We don't have time for the bullshit.
No, by the way, I deeply respect that. I can't stand the bullshit as well. And I mean that. So look, but this is not my purpose or passion. It's not my meaning. It's not everything. The cynicism that's out there that every move he's making is some move to some longer term strategy or short term strategy.
Just that you're a guy who could do it, who could get it done, who could win.
Well, I deeply respect that. I respect the question, but I don't have any grand plans as it respects to that. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm also trying to be accountable. By the way, you want things to change, you got to change. And that's what the podcast is about. That's my recognition of where we're weak. You got to call balls and strikes.
If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid. Hit that like button. I'll never ask you for a cash app, and I'll never ask for a super chat. You hitting that like button, that really helps. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. On the Real Politics Podcast, that's what we do. We talk real politics. And once you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell and select all. That way, you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Now, Bill Maher has been at least consistent on just how much he really does believe Gavin Newsom can win. As a matter of fact, let me show you this clip where PBD went on to, that's Patrick Bet-David, went on to the Bill Maher podcast, and they got into a discussion about Gavin Newsom. And when PBD pushed back a little bit on asking Bill Maher to explain, like, why do you think Gavin Newsom will be a great president? Listen to the reasons that Bill Maher gives for why he wants Gavin Newsom to be president. Check this clip out.
Do you like Newsom? How do you feel about Newsom?
Had him on my show Friday.
I saw that.
And I first of all, I love him. You just like a guy or you don't. I've known him for a long time. He's done my show for a long time. Do I love everything he does as the governor of California? No, I don't. I wouldn't say I'm undertaxed. Yeah, it's this. I have issues with this state. He's a guy. One reason I want him to run for president, well, is because he's obviously a winner. This guy could fucking do it. It's insane that we have the guy, but we can't run him because we have to tiptoe around Biden and
define a winner.
Well, he would win the election.
Oh, so
he would win the election.
He's a talented debater, speaker, communicator, deflector,
and politician. And he's a smart guy. He's a smart, real guy with a pair of balls. Do I love everything? No, you never do with a politician. But first of all, I think if he ran for president, it'd be great because it would force him to move to the center. Now you're running not just in California. I mean, this is California. It's weirdo.
Are you a results-driven guy?
No, I like to think. Watch things fall apart.
I mean, you wouldn't build a show that you build and win at the levels you won, for decades if you weren't results driven, right? I mean, you're Bill Maher. What
do you mean? Well, what's the point about results?
Exactly where I'm going with you. So results driven guy.
Right.
What areas has Newsom won in? You said he's a winner.
Winner of the election. He could win the election.
But based on what though? Do you want results? Like what has he done to California to say he's a winner? What?
Oh God, I don't know. It's too.
Bill, you're a smart guy.
You know what? He made it rain. Okay, dude. It wasn't raining.
Someone said that. He said, great job.
It wasn't raining, and now it's raining. So he's got my vote.
Okay,
you know what?
Respect. I mean,
I don't know. I don't follow.
You see what happens when you push back on these liberals just a little bit. Now, Bill Maher wants this man to be president of the United States because he's a winner. Well, when PBD said, winner of what? Based on what? He says, I don't know, dude. What are you? It was all about aesthetics. He can step up and lie the best. He has the best look. So his aesthetics fit and his ability to mislead and misrepresent the people are better than average. So that's why he should be president. Even though he's ran California into the ground. He ran the city of San Francisco into the ground when he's a mayor there. Gavin Newsom is the epitome of failing forward. And so their whole trajectory was for him to push that socialist ideology on San Francisco, destroy it. It worked. Put him up to governor and see if he can do it again. Guess what? It worked. And so the Democrat Party probably would want somebody like Gavin Newsom because he's shown he can destroy economies. He could totally just just obliterate communities without any type of feeling or emotion. Remember when he had the whole state on lockdown, but he was going out to eat with family members and going to the barbers and having a good old time. But that's just that one clip, but it's amazing. Now, check out this next clip where Bill Maher is going to ask him about his thought process as far as on parents' rights with their children. And as far as the sex changes and the LGBTQ trans thing going on in California. Watch Bill Maher press Gavin Newsom on this, and his response will astound you. And then I'm going to follow that up, showing you a law that was passed in California that as a parent should piss you off. But check this clip out.
I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
So what do you say?
Now, that phrase about the Democrat Party being toxic and then highlighting the CNN poll at 29% for Democrat favorability, and then the NBC poll, which showed even lower at 27%. And you know, if they're saying 29 to 27, it's actually lower than that. Remember, Joe Biden's approval rating just seemed to stay at 32%, no matter how much more terrible things got. And it just mysteriously stayed there, just like how Trump's approval right now is just staying at 52. And that's on CNN and on MSNBC, which means it's probably closer to 60. Now, this is where Bill Maher is going to speak to him about his policies as far as with parents. Check out what he says.
To people who say, well, this sounds all very good, but Governor, you were the poster boy for a lot of this stuff. I see today the Trump administration they talked about, I don't know if this is true, but they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you? I
just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is the teacher's job to then report that. By the way, in this law, the teacher can still do that, but they can't be fired if that's it can't be fired if that's not what they do. And that's something.
Now, what's funny about Gavin Newsom pointing that out, how wrong it is and how teachers should be teaching, that's the same way parents feel when you have transgender story hour being taught to preschoolers and kindergartners in California. When you got books being distributed to children, My Two Daddies and My Two Mommies, and, you know, conversations about whether men can have babies and asking 4- and 5-year-olds, do they feel like they're in the right body? And so while he takes this pompous kind of stance of, hey, I'm protecting the teachers from being fired, because if it wasn't for this legislation, a teacher would be fired if they didn't let a parent know that. And they should be fired if they don't let a parent know what's going on with their child, who they have during more waking hours than the parent who's at work. And our government set this system up years ago masterfully under Democratic rule, to where parents go work, women fought for the rights to go work. You got both parents outside of the house. Guess who's got control of the child? The government, the school system. And as parents, you just trust that the school system is teaching them how to read, write, and do math. And they're not. They're teaching them how to, think like a boy if they're really a girl, how to think like a girl if they're really a boy, and bringing 6'2" grown men with Adam's apples in, wearing dresses and wigs, singing, the wheels on the bus go round and round, which is insane. Now, let's talk about this law in California, since Gavin Newsom says, he's really fighting for the rights of parents. You may or may not be aware of this, but in California right now, There is a law that says that if a child is between the ages of 14 and 17, an adult that is only 10 years older than them and has consensual sex with them will not go to jail, which means that in California, they've legalized it for an adult to have sex with a minor between the ages of 14 and 17, as long as there's only a 10-year gap and it was consensual. So in California, a 14-year-old can consent to sleep with a 21, 22, 23, or a 24-year-old. As long as it's within a 10-year gap or a 10-year difference and it's consensual, there's no jail time. This is insane. Right here, California Governor Gavin Newsom on Friday signed a law that will give judges a say on whether to list someone as a sex offender for having oral sex with a minor. The bill would expand the discretion currently granted judges in statutory, cases, and was promoted as bringing fairness under the LGBTQ defendants. The current law, in place for decades, permits judges to decide whether a man should be placed on California's offender registry if he had voluntary relations with someone 14 to 17 years old and was no more than 10 years older than that person. So if you're only 10 years older than a 14, 15, or 16-year-old and they say it's cool, you don't have to worry about going to jail. Matter of fact, there's been cases already where the person didn't get in trouble. The only time the person got any charges is if they had a previous conviction for assault with a minor. Other than that, you can be an adult and kick it with a teenager, and as long as it's consensual, you fear no retribution. So for him to sit there and act like he's so pro-parent and what he was doing was so yada yada was so great is crazy. In California, it is legal for an adult to have relations with a minor as long as it's a 10-year gap if they're between the ages of 14 and 17. Anything under 14 is considered, smexutory. On YouTube, you have to audit these words because they will hit your channel. But it doesn't end with that with Mr. Gavin Newsom. Now, we spoke earlier about how CNN has been going in on Gavin Newsom ever since he's tried to go more moderate. Let's listen to this excerpt where they really put it to him and show just how hypocritical he is, where he's trying to seem like a moderate when he's just as far left-wing extreme as AOC, as Bernie Sanders, if not worse, because he's actually putting everything into practice. AOC and Bernie, they just talk. AOC hasn't passed any legislation. People like Jasmine Crockett haven't passed any legislation. Gavin Newsom has taken a wrecking ball to the state. But let's listen to what CNN has to say about it. Check this out.
By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree?
where did that even
No more Latinx,
like,
everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about?
But there was a person who used Latinx. It was actually a really important person. It was him, right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, these aren't minor shifts. These are progressive issues that Gavin Newsom used to champion until fairly recently. And now he's not just walking away from them. He's sort of acting like they were never legitimate with that clip talking about Latinx in the first place. But let's take Latinx. We did find somebody who used it repeatedly in his office. Let's take a listen to this.
I hope we can really paint a picture in terms of our consciousness of how impactful this has been on the Latinx community. The Latinx and Black communities. You've got politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. They're not even serious.
And look, Aaron, those aren't the only times that we found that he used it. He also used it a lot on social media. Look at a few of these right here. You see there, that is a lot of use of Latinx by him for somebody who said that nobody in his office has ever used that phrase.
Right. So that was put upon him. All right. So he's also rewriting history a bit on his stance on transgender issues, which he had a point of view on his podcast again just 2 weeks ago. Here's where he is now.
Turns out in 2014, years before I was governor, there was a law established that established the legal principles that allow trans athletes in women's sports. But the issue of fairness is completely legit. It is an issue of fairness, and I think Democrats have lost it.
No, he didn't always feel that way.
No, that's right. And look, in that statement, he's kind of making it sound like he wasn't involved in this at all. He's like, oh, it was in 2014, years before I was governor. Like, you mean when you were the lieutenant governor? When you actively defended and praised that law? And one of the videos that we found was actually him praising not just the governor at the time, Jerry Brown, but the California state legislature for putting that in place at the time. Take a listen to this.
Thank you for what you did on civil rights. for students in our schools, transgender rights in this state.
I mean,
So as you can see, CNN just straight cooked Gavin Newsom. So I just wanted to bring this to you and show you how be cautious, because Gavin Newsom, there's going to be other Democrats, far left-wing extremists that are going to be trying to move more to the moderate to trick people into getting their vote. And I'm here for it. I'm not going to let it happen. And I'm going to keep bringing it and sharing it. So hopefully you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button. If you stayed on it this long, thank you so much. Remember to share the video. Leave a comment if you had nothing than that. I'm Brian Maxwell, saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.